making sure we had a great time. So can I let you guys in on a secret? Come on. This is a secret. I'm actually kind of embarrassed to say this. I've never had a job before. I'm 34 years old and I've never worked a single day in my life. I don't know if that's something to brag about, actually, because I'm trying to get my kids to work hard and go to school, and they're like, Dad, you never worked before, we tell them. And so, as I go through this process of life, I started to understand that I had the ability to control my own destiny, because if I had to apply for a job, number one, I've got no resume. Wouldn't even know how to write a resume. Number two, I've got no expertise in business, no digital marketing skills, no online marketing skills. But what I do know is I know how to win. I know how to win. And so, if you ask me, because of my skill list resume, if you ask me, well, hey, why would the people from ClickFunnels even invite you here? Well, that's a great question. I'm not actually sure why. I have to ask Russell after I get off of the stage. But knowing how to win is a really important skill. And it's something that's taken a lifetime for me to build. I've truly done this sport for an extremely long time, and all of the things that I've learned in the sport have helped to refine me, to establish me as the wrestler that I am today. But not only the wrestler, it's the man that I've become. There was a great wrestler that many of you guys may have heard from. His name was Dan Gable. He was an Olympic champion, a world champion, and a three-time NCAA champion at the University of Iowa State. And so one of the cool things, let's go. And so one of the great things that he said was, once you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy.
I said that.
Once you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy. I don't know about easy. He clearly doesn't have 4 kids and a wife at home. Because it is not easy. Maybe easier, but not easy. You know what? One thing I heard today that was great, it shows me that everyone in here is motivated to win, is I heard the gym was packed this morning. Anyone go to the gym this morning? Let me see a show of hands. That's awesome. Awesome for all the people who got to work out. Not so cool for the guys who woke up late and then the treadmills were taken already, right? I know that's kind of annoying. But the great thing is I want to take you guys back to how this all began. So every athlete, every hero has a genesis story. They have a place where they origin and where they got it all started. So I started wrestling at 6 years old. This is me, little JB, as a young man. And it was just really random. Wrestling is a sport based on tradition, based on history, based on lineage. If your dad wrestled, you wrestle. If you don't wrestle, your dad has more babies, so one of your brothers will wrestle. And so no one in my family ever wrestled, so my origin story is really different than most because it wasn't based on tradition. So I got a flyer from my local elementary school one day in 2nd grade that said, hey, join your local youth wrestling program. We were the Edgewood Eagles. And at the time, I'm 6 years old. I weigh about 45 pounds, soaking wet. I'm a little guy. I was the runt, the youngest of 4 in my family. But I knew this was the cool opportunity for me because I had grown up watching the WWF. Any wrestling fans here? WWE, WWF. Very nice. So when I was a kid, my favorite wrestlers were Macho Man Randy Savage. Let's go. Snap into a Slim Jim. Hulk Hogan. The Ultimate Warrior. The Undertaker. All these guys. The legends of the sport when I was growing up. So my favorite wrestlers weren't Olympic or world champions at all. They were actually the guys that I saw on TV on Monday Night Raw and Thursday Night SmackDown. And so it was a really fun time for me because I realized that as a small guy, wrestling was one of the few sports you didn't have to be big in stature to be successful because we had weight classes. The smallest weight class at the senior level is 125 pounds. The largest is 285 pounds. And that's the heavyweight weight class. And so as a small guy, I realized that this was my opportunity to thrive and establish myself amongst my family. And so I want to talk to you guys about my very first wrestling tournament. That's me, with my first 2 trophies that I had ever won. Let me tell you about those trophies. The one in my right hand, the black trophy, 2nd place. The medal on my neck, silver medal, 2nd place. The red one in my left hand, participation trophy. Wasn't very good yet, right? And so I think about what this meant to me at this time. I was really proud, and this is probably why I convinced my mom to take a picture of me, because at this point, before this picture was taken, I had never won anything in my life. And so wrestling gave me a passion, it gave me a pursuit. My very first tournament, I went to a wrestling tournament. It was called the Delsey Regional 8th Annual Tournament. Super cool. Very first tournament. Didn't really know what I was doing. My dad was my first wrestling coach, so he gets me all dressed up in my singlet, my uniform. I go out to the wrestling mat. I win my first match. Awesome day. I'm super excited about it. I'm like, Dad, who I've got next? He's like, you see that kid over there in the blue singing? That's the one you got next. I'm like, all right, let's do it. get me warmed up. I go out to the mat, I get pinned. I don't know if you guys know what pin means, but basically it's when someone locks you into a tight lock, puts you on your back, holds you there, and the ref slaps the mat, and I was finished. My tournament was over. Bad part about it was this kid that pinned me was getting coached by his mom. Still me. I don't like to tell people about that. Hey, if you're out there, kid that pinned me, I'm still looking for you, bro. And so, after I got pinned, it was single elimination. My tournament was over. I was done. But before I left, I realized that they were giving out participation trophies. And so in my estimation, as a 6-year-old, I had no idea that I hadn't truly earned this trophy, but it was being given to me for my effort that day. And so my dad takes me, he gives me my trophy, and I'm like, this is for me? He's like, yeah, you earned that. And I'm looking at the bracket in the hallway of the high school where we were competing, and I say, Dad, well, what place did I take? And he looks at the bracket, and he's like, well, son, I think you took 8. Well, turns out many years later, he didn't tell me this to way down the road, that there weren't even 8 guys in the weight class that day. He told me I had taken 8th place because it was the 8th annual tournament. And so when I saw the number 8, I was like, I guess I took 8. And so I remember taking that trophy home and showing my entire family that trophy and getting really excited about having something to present to my family. Because being the youngest of 4, sometimes I felt like I had to always compete with my older siblings in order to have value in my family. And so this was a really important day for me. My dad was my first coach. This is the 2 of us. Him and I spent a lot of time together. And this guy right here knew nothing about the sport of wrestling. But he loved sports and he knew a lot about principles. And so what he would teach me was how to be tough, how to be gritty, how to be strong, how to be disciplined. I didn't always listen to him. I was a kid that cried after every single loss as a kid. I would go hide under the bleachers. I would go into the bathroom stall, close it, lock it behind me, put my feet up on the toilet so no one could find me. My mom would come and she would console me, rub my back. Say, it's okay, we'll get him again next week. My dad would come out and he'd say, get him out of there. If you wanted the biggest trophy, you would have wrestled harder. And so my dad was tough. He taught me a lot of values. But one of the things that he taught me that really helped me pursue my dreams passionately was he taught me about what it looked like to be successful. And so before every tournament that I competed in as a young man, he would take me to the trophy room. And so the trophy room at the high school where the competition was held had all the trophies that were going to be given out to the competitors and the place winners throughout the day. And so he showed me all the trophies and he'd say, you see that little one right there in the corner? I said, yeah, that one looks pretty cool. He said, that's 3rd place. You win 4 of your 5 matches, you get that one. I said, man, that looks good. He said, you see the one over there that's a little bit taller? I said, yeah. He said, that's 2nd place. You win 5 matches today, that's the one you bring home. And then he pointed to the biggest trophy. He said, you see that big one over there in the corner with the golden guy on top of it? I said, yeah. He said, if you win all your matches, that's the one you'll bring home today. And so as a young man, that was my pursuit. I was excited about the opportunity to go out there and pursue trophies. Clearly, as I've gotten older, I've changed a little bit in my pursuit and what I value and my perspective. But all of these principles come back from these days spending time with my dad. And so as I got to high school, I realized that this might be my ability to go on and do something special and start to break generational curses in my family. This is me in high school, yeah. And so I was a lot smaller then. This was my senior year. I wrestled at 135 pounds here. And so I had a high school coach, his name was Rick Cox, and he would tell me all the time, what do you want to do with your life? And I would say, well, I'm not really sure. I'd give him the prototypical answer, well, I suppose maybe go on and wrestle in college at the next level. I don't really know. No one in my family's ever gone to college. No one from my neighborhood's ever gotten a scholarship. We don't have good enough grades to pass the NCAA clearinghouse. I'm really not sure. But if there's an opportunity, I'm willing to work hard for it. And so he sat me down and he said, listen, I'm going to take you under my wing from now on. You're going to be the guy that I focus most on. I'm going to get you to college, and I'm going to change your life. And so I said, listen, consider it done. Whatever you need to do to get me to college, I'm in. And so, in order to go to college, first you got to be recruited. Recruitment process is really difficult because you've got to be really good from a young age, and you've got to display a certain amount of skills in order for coaches to look at you and say, I want this guy to be a part of my team. I wasn't highly recruited. I didn't win a state championship until my senior year of high school. And so it was a very, very long process. When I got to high school, I was 100 pounds. My favorite sport actually as a kid was football. was a big football fan. Grew up in South Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. Anyone from Jersey get it? Very nice, very nice. So that's my home. I live in Philly. But I grew up right outside of Philly, and so I always wanted to be a wide receiver in the NFL. That was my dream. When I got to high school, I weighed 100 pounds. I went online, I looked at all the NFL rosters. I didn't see a single guy that weighed 100 pounds. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I might have to change my dream a little bit. So when I got to my freshman year of high school, I switched up. I quit the football team, and I started to focus fully on wrestling. So a lot of you guys may have seen in recruitment stories, you got the NLI, and you've got the ability to go on stage with your family flanked left and right. You've got your recruiting and your signing day, you've got your coaches, your athletic director, you've got the big signing, you've got the 3 hats in front of you. That's what it was like for most kids that were highly recruited. It's a highly talented event. You get to pick the hat, put it on, tell everyone where you'll be taking your talents to in the fall, and it's an exciting day. But for me, it never happened like that. So I want to tell you a story about the genesis of my development as an athlete. And so my recruitment story was really crazy. It was really crazy considering the fact that I'm in the place where I'm at today. So between your junior and senior season, there was a special day. That day was July 1st. That was the first day that colleges and college coaches could give you an official call and recruit you, offer you a scholarship, get you signed up to be a part of their team. And so during that time, I was excited about the opportunity because I'm like, well, man, I'm pretty good at this. I talked to my coach about going to college. I think that I could do this. There should be some coach out there that wants me at least, right? I'm pretty good at this. And so I remember that day came, July 1st. And I made sure before that day came, I had everything on point. I had my cordless phone charged. That's dating myself, right? Cordless phones. Had my cordless phone charged up. My mom and dad were both at work. Had the cordless phone charged. I was on point. I made sure that it was ready. No one was on the phone all day. I was going to make sure that if a college coach called me, I was going to be prepared, and I was going to say, absolutely, I want that scholarship. My next door neighbor was my best friend. Him and I spent a lot of time together. And so I was at his house all morning with that phone right by my side waiting for that call. And so I remember that day. 9 a.m. comes. Still no calls. I'm like, man, I think the coaches should probably just be getting to their office. I'm giving them a little more time to get in their office, get settled, make sure that they have everything that they need. I might be on the bottom of the list. I'm not super accomplished yet, but they'll get to me. Noon comes. Still 0 calls. I'm hanging out at my buddy's house. Now I'm starting to get a little worried. Like, what the heck? No one's calling me. And so I'm like, I gotta go home. I'm too far from the base. No one can get to me because I'm out of range. I gotta go home. So I remember going back to my crib and I'm hanging out, making sure that no messages on the voicemail, still nothing. About 3 p.m. comes, and I'm like, damn, I'm not sure if anyone's gonna call. And so I remember 5 p.m. rolls around, my parents get home, my mom and dad, they come and they sit down, and they say, JB, what's going on? As we sat at the dinner table, they're looking at me and they're like, you look upset, is everything okay? They had no idea that this was the first day that you could receive calls from colleges. But I did. And that day I got 0 calls, 0 invitations to go on any official visits, and 0 offers to have a scholarship to go to any college. And so it was a really tough day for me, but you know what was a great time? Was sometimes failures became moments for character building. Because my dad sat down, and at the time I didn't understand what he was saying. He was like, this is great. I said, what? They're talking about, this is not great, this is terrible, Dad. No one wants me to go to college. I'm going to be stuck here working construction with you all summer. He said, no, don't worry about it. This is a big opportunity for you. You've always said that you wanted to control your destiny. This is a big time for you to control your destiny. You've got the ability to make the phone call. And so no one called you today. This is great. Because now you understand that you need to focus on being your best self. In order to be your best self, you're going to have the ability to work hard in uncertainty. No one believes in you. No one's willing to invest resources in you. But what you do have is the ability to control your own circumstances. That means working hard, staying focused, going out there and competing with intent, and making sure that the next time you get an opportunity, you're going to be ready. And so in that moment, I knew that my dad was on something. It was terrible at the time, but eventually it began to work out. And so my dad was really cool because I remember my dad had never really done anything in sports. And I valued sports a lot in my family, but my dad was a hard worker. He worked in construction. I come from a middle-class family in South Jersey. My dad was a construction worker. My mom was a pension processor for the very same local 332 in Philadelphia that my dad worked for. So she made sure that all the retired construction workers had their checks on time. And so What my dad would do every single day, he'd wake up at 5:30 a.m., he'd be to work at 6. Rain, sleet, snow or shine. If it was hot outside, 100 degrees, I'd still hear that rumble every single morning at 5:30 a.m. before my dad would leave to work of his pickup truck in the driveway. If it was snowing outside, I'd hear that same rumble of the pickup truck in the driveway. If it was raining, same rumble. And so my dad, as he would put on his muddy work boots and his Levi jeans every morning, he would tell me, listen, this is not what you want to do with your life. You want the ability to control your own destiny. You got the opportunity to do whatever you want. You live the next 5 years like a peasant, and you live the remainder of your life like a king. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take discipline. It's going to take a lot of character. But if you can do that, you're going to change your life. And so I heeded that message. And so my senior year, I went on to win a state championship. And so after that state championship, I'm standing there with the phone again. I'm like, okay, someone's definitely going to call. Still no calls. And so I remember at that time, my dad's like, this is what we got to do. There's a tournament called Senior Nationals. It's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at the Peterson Event Center. He said, well, I'm going to take you to Walmart real quick. I'm going to buy you a couple of t-shirts, a couple new pairs of socks and underwear, a couple new pair of workout shorts. We're going to grab your singlet, grab your wrestling bag. We're going out to Pittsburgh. If you win this tournament, you'll be noticed. And so we packed up in our car, grabbed our lunchbox and our cooler, grabbed my wrestling shoes, and we headed to Pittsburgh. When I headed to Pittsburgh, I was uncertain of what the future might hold. Because at this point, it's April of my senior year. All scholarship money has been accounted for. Anyone who was a senior that didn't know where they were going to college probably wasn't going to college. But there was a special guy in the stands that day when I wrestled at the Peterson Event Center. And so there were some of the best seniors that all had places where they were going to school. And I wrestled in that tournament. Not only did I compete there, but I won. And so in the stands, there was a young man by the name of Mark Manning. Mark Manning was the head coach of the University of Nebraska. And that day changed my life. And so I'm a former Cornhusker. Go Big Red. Let's go. I'm not very good at football anymore. That's a sore subject for me. But Mark Manning was there. And the rest was history for me. And so from this time, this was the first time that I learned the mastery of skill. Self-excellence. Meaning that if you work hard enough, long enough, and be consistent with your effort, anything is possible. If you ask someone, how do you make more money? How do you become more recognized? Well, first, let's get better at your skill. Improve your craft. And so I put my head down. I stopped thinking about college and I started thinking about who I wanted to become. The skills that I need to improve on, the skill set that I needed to attain, the work ethic, the character, the intelligence, the ability to go on and show people that I worked so hard that it's impossible for you to ignore me. And because of that, I got an opportunity to get a scholarship to the University of Nebraska and achieve great heights in college. I was a 2-time NCAA champion, a 3-time Big 12 champion. And shortly after graduating from the University of Nebraska, not only was I the best wrestler in the country, but I also became the best wrestler in the world.
I didn't know if he was out of college for a year. He won the world title before the I remember when I watched this match.
Couldn't get the pin, but he'd taken the round. The second round went much the same way as the first. Burroughs scored late on by taking Gudazi out of the ring, and the US fans knew what it meant. The Iranian needed something dramatic to change the match, but Burroughs had done it. He'd been an outsider when he won the world title, and now there was no doubting his class. He was the Olympic champion. So gold went to Burroughs, Gudazi was the silver medalist, and the bronzes went to Tigiev and Sargas.
It feels awesome. You know, I've been working my whole life for this opportunity. Went out there and executed well. Probably my best match of the day, and I feel awesome.
What was the secret of the success today?
Just working hard. You know, they told me to stay calm, stay cool, and collected. You know, I've been in this position multiple times in big matches in my career, and went out there and got it done.
Had some pretty good support from
Right
the
out of high
American fans there.
No doubt about it. You know, I love the fans. You know, that's why I ran up in the crowd, hugged my mom, told her I love her. You know, so it's all about the fans. They come out here, they show their support and their love, and I'm grateful to give it back.
So that was 10 years ago. That was London, 2012. And that's when my life changed forever. I became an Olympic champion. And so when you start to win, you start to forget about what it feels like to be in a fight, to get beat, to lose. But here's one thing that I've noticed, and I stick tightly to. Regardless of how much you won, you're never immune to losses. I've left the arena on top of the podium on many occasions, gold medals around my neck, fanfare, flowers, recognition, praise, and heaps of love from all over the world. But I've also learned that sometimes difficulty can come at the most inopportune times. And so although I've known victory on many occasions, I've also known defeat. And here's the thing, interesting paradoxes. I've learned more from my defeat than I have from my wins. When you lose, you start to reevaluate everything. When you win, you give yourself a pat on the back and you move on. During my losses, I started to think, man, did I do the right things? Am I in the right location? Do I have the right training partners? Do I have the right coaching staff? Did I truly dedicate myself and commit and be disciplined enough to do absolutely everything I can to be at my very best? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. I think one of the hardest things that we must reckon with as business owners, as people that are driven to be great at anything, is sometimes you can give your absolute best and it can still not work out for you. And so I go from being the very best in the world in 2012, world champion, Olympic gold medalist, and the favorite to return and repeat in 2016 as the Olympic Games were in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. This time, it didn't work out as smoothly as I expected it to, and I couldn't replicate the success that I had in 2012. Let's cue that video.
It's tough, man. It's a tough sport, humbling sport. Didn't wrestle my best today. A lot of prepared competitors, and just go back to the drawing board, reevaluate, and try to get better.
See, you're bloodied. It stopped the match in the quarterfinal. Again here just now. How did that impact?
It didn't. I didn't wrestle my best today. Got a lot of work on.
You're the face of USA Wrestling. What do you say to your fans now?
Sorry. Disappointed in my performance. I got a lot more to give, and I didn't show a lot of heart out there today, especially in that wrestle back match. It's hard to recuperate after a tough loss, expecting gold. You know? Sorry.
You mentioned you have a lot more to give. What's next for you?
I don't know, man. I got 2 kids at home that love me a lot. I got a wife that loves me. This is the hardest day of my life. It's the hardest day of my life.
Thank you, Jordan.
Difficult day. Difficult day. I think one of the most difficult things about what we do is our failures are very public. Most people, they fail in private. No one knows about it. You don't have to discern in the moment. You don't have to give an interview immediately after one of the most difficult days of your life. Shoot. You don't have to explain yourself at all. But when you're a public figure, like a lot of you are, when you fail, it's a very public occurrence. And you've got to wear that scarlet letter, that walk of shame, being amongst your peers, is something very real. And so being in that dark place, there was a sick juxtaposition that I had to really start to learn to encounter. And it was completely different from 2012 to 2016. In 2012, I remember flying from London right to the Jay Leno show. I went to LA, first class, Jay Leno show. I was on top of the world. Life was good. Fast forward to 2016. I arrived home. No cameras, no flowers, no medal. I got to the airport and I realized that I hadn't even driven my car to drop myself off at the airport. I had to take a taxi home. There was no one there waiting for me. That was a difficult day for me. And I dwelled in that dark place a lot. And it took me a long time to get out of there. But then I started to realize this is an important time for me. And I needed a kick in the butt. So my two head coaches, Brian Snyder and Mark Bannon at the University of Nebraska, one day I'm sitting home, I hadn't even touched the wrestling mat in about a month and a half. So it's been about 40, 45 days since I had wrestled at all. I was thinking about retiring. I couldn't just bear to go back and face my peers and the shame and the guilt and the embarrassment, the humiliation that I was facing in that moment. So my coaches come, they sit down on my couch, they say, bro, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. What's up? What did you tell us when you first started this journey? Who did you want to be? I said, well, I wanted to be the best wrestler that this country had ever seen. And they looked me in the eye and they said, well, what's changed? And I thought about it for a moment. And I said, I guess nothing. They said, you told us you wanted to be the winningest wrestler in American history. You didn't achieve your goal in 2016. You've got an empty place in your trophy case, but you know what would be worse than having an empty place in 2016? It's having another empty place in 2017. You need to get back on your horse. You need to kick your butt into shape and get back into gear and get ready to come back and do what you told us that you originally planned to do, which was be the greatest. It's going to take you a little more time. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be tedious, but if there's anyone that's mentally tough and has the grit and determination enough to do it, it's you. And so in that moment, I realized that building confidence sometimes doesn't come intrinsically. You need to get a team of people around you that are going to help you to sustain the level of excellence that you once set out to create for yourself, because there are going to be days where it's very difficult. You know what? One thing that I love, there was a quote by Serena Williams. She said, there are days that I don't feel like training, but there's never a day that I feel like losing. And I thought that was a great quote. Because I'm sure for a lot of you guys, it's the very same, right? There are days where I don't feel like going to the gym at 5:30 a.m. Being disciplined, being courteous, apologizing first. But I know that these are the days in which I can build my most character. And so I hope that as you guys go through this process, that you understand that you need to welcome difficulty in your life. Challenges and obstacles and adversity will undoubtedly come as you guys go through this journey of life. But here's the thing, don't shy away from them, embrace them. Because if you can learn to embrace them, you'll learn that these moments are the ones that you learn the most from. These are the ones that change you, that build character. But once you reveal who you truly are, you can never go back because you set a new standard for yourself. These are the things that we need to cling to. The easy moments, well, they're just that. They're easy. But the tough moments are the ones that take special friends, special faith, special determination, a special part of yourself that's deep down that you haven't even revealed to yourself. That is what we're trying to get to in order to establish excellence. So, I want you guys to remember that as we move forward. One of the things that I learned from this is, this was hard for me. I wrestled since I was 6 years old. I had to learn to separate my identity from my performance and from my occupation. I imagine a lot of you guys are, as you're out there, you're like, well man, people know me for my business. Well, everywhere I go, people call me the champ. But my mom named me Jordan. And so the difficulty sometimes can be, well, if I'm not the champion, well, who am I? How do people recognize me? And so I had to learn to build myself back stronger with a strong identity of self, knowing that I was valuable and that I had self-worth because I existed, not because of what I could do. And that was really important for me as I went through that process. I also started to learn that the best athletes of all time have an ability to forget that's unbelievable. Think of Tom Brady. How many people consider Tom Brady the greatest football player of all time? Probably a lot of us, right? Think about this. Tom Brady is
That's why he's on my fantasy team.
23 seasons. He's won 7 Super Bowls in 23 years. What do we remember him for? We remember him for the victories. And so that means 15 out of those 22 seasons that he's already played, he's went home empty-handed. No Super Bowl championship, no Vince Lombardi trophy, nothing to write home about. But guess what? He goes home, he dusts himself off, he comes back, and he operates with the same level of enthusiasm as he had the season before, knowing that the best have the ability to forget quickly, and they can build themselves out of the darkness. That perspective and that resilience is what's going to change who we are, how we perceive ourselves, how we allow other people to make us feel, and our capabilities as we move forward. Very important thing. Last story I want to share with you guys today. I'm sure a lot of you don't know who this is. Not many people know wrestling in this room. But I hope that by the time I leave, yes sir, who said that? You're a beast, bro, I love you. The man. Thank you, appreciate that. So as I mentioned before, I just got back from Serbia, Belgrade, Serbia to be exact. We're wrestling at the World Championships. This guy right here is who I wanted to introduce you to. This is the guy that's been the standard for USA Wrestling for such a long time. The man in this photo, his name is John Smith. A lot of people covet this guy and consider him the greatest American wrestler of all time. He was a 6-time world champion. He won his last championship in 1992. He was an Olympic gold medalist in 92 in Barcelona. He's now the head coach at Oklahoma State University. He's a phenomenal coach, great man, but great wrestler. He was the bar, the standard for USA Wrestling for a very long time. So when I entered the scene, I started to think, who are the best guys that have ever done this at the senior level? Do I have an opportunity to catch him? Do I have an opportunity to wrestle at such an elite level that I can maybe be considered in the same class as these guys? This is John. This guy. This is me.
That's cool. It's cool that you recreated it.
I always wanted to replicate that John Smith photo, and I did last year because I won my 6th world championship. And so when I won my 6th world championship, I was tied with John. The two of us were sitting on top of the Pantheon in American Greats, and people were asking me, do you think you could do it again? Could you pass John, who set this record in 1992? In 2022, it's been 30 years since John set that bar. I had an opportunity to do so a few weeks ago. We were going to Belgrade, Serbia. My preparation was going well. Everything was going great. I was feeling strong, but I understand that I'm old. I'm considered a dinosaur in this sport at 34. I'm the oldest guy on the team. I've got the most kids on the team. I've been married the longest. I'm the grandpa. I'm the den father, I guess you would call me. And so, going through my training, we had our last training camp in Colorado Springs at the Olympic Training Center. While I was there, I sustained an injury. And so after the injury, I go immediately to the doctor, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna take an ultrasound. Looks like some damaged tissue in this area. I need you to go over to the hospital and get an MRI. So I go shortly after I get an MRI, and he looks and he's like, yeah, something's torn. And I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to compete. When's the World Championships? I say 5 weeks away. Not looking good. This is probably gonna need surgery to repair. And so as I look at him, I'm like, Doc, that can't happen. I need an opportunity to compete. Like, you don't understand the magnitude of this moment. I need the ability to try to compete and pass John. I've been trying to do this my entire career. This is my 12th season on Team USA. It's taking me so long. I have to be able to compete this day. He said, listen, you can do what you want, but I can't guarantee that you're going to be safe if you go out there with a halfway torn muscle. You can amplify the injury, you could end your career, and you could never have the ability to get the strength back that you once had if you go out and compete. And so in that moment, I had a lot of choices to make, and I sat and I thought about it. I prayed with my family, I talked to my coaches, and I tried to figure out what's next for me. I didn't really understand. Because I was so old, he was like, I don't know if this is going to heal. I don't know if this is going to recover in time. You can take your time going into this World Championship and see what you can do. But here's the deal. One of the things that I understand is that in this sport, it's really difficult to win a World Championship. Being the absolute best in the world is really hard. If the planet Earth had a wrestling match and you were a world champion, that means that they would pick you for a wrestling match against another planet. So, being the best in the world is difficult. But being the best in the world while injured is nearly impossible. And so as we led up to the World Championships in Belgrade, Serbia, I had a lot to think about. But I rolled the dice. I said, you know what, Doc? I'm older. I've got a sense of urgency. I don't know if I'm ever going to get this chance again. Let's just rock and roll, see what we got. I'll let you guys know how it went.
Quick reach by Noka Dilurami. He'll try to do his best to stay active here, but look at Burroughs, just like a train moving in, and he is going to get the equalizer
only faked right there, but when the fake grabbed his hand behind the leg, he decided to turn that into a shot. Just as I say that, blast double A head right in the chest, looking to get this ankle lace. 3-1, Jordan Burroughs. He's got to cross those legs up if he wants to get this turn, but he's fighting hard. Great job by the Iranian. 10 seconds left.
Will it be history tonight for the United States and another record for the master of the sport, Jordan Burroughs, as they go out of bounds with 1 second to go. A step out point, 4-2, Nokedilorami. Exhausted, frustrated, works his way back to the center of the mat. Burroughs has done it.
He has done it.
Let's get one more time. USA! 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 Yeah! I did it. I did it. What a special moment this was for me. A history-breaking moment. What I learned in this moment is that you've got to own your journey. What took John only 6 years to accomplish took me 12. Lots to be said about the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000-hour rule. I've worked extremely hard. I stayed disciplined, stayed focused. But my journey was completely different than his. A lot of obstacles on the way, a lot of adversity. But I knew this. I had to still continue to go out and work as hard as I could and stay focused and learn to trust the process. So although the doctor gave me a diagnosis that looked bleak, I decided to take my career into my own hands. I worked hard. I stayed focused, I stayed committed, and I became a champion once again. And now, I am the standard of USA Wrestling.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. So, as I close, there are a few things that I want you guys to remember that were really important and pivotal to me in my career, my development. Number one was, don't wait for the phone to ring. Make the phone ring. There are going to be times where success isn't coming at the pace in which you hope for it to come. There will be times where you wonder if you're good enough for this, if you're cut from the cloth, and if you got the chops to do exactly what it is that you want to do. Understand this, the process sometimes takes longer than expected, but it doesn't mean that you're a failure. Sometimes losing doesn't make you a failure, losing makes you a competitor. Every great person that's ever tried something daringly has failed. They have lost. But favor goes to the bold. My coach would always tell me every time I step out on the mat, he'd say, ask yourself 2 questions. Did you give your all in training? Are you ready to give your all right now? Remember this, the courageous man wins the crowd. There's no such thing as a fearless man. Fear exists. No matter how good you are, how long you've done this, fear always exists when you've got to do something scary. But here's what combats fear. It's faith. It's courage. It's bravery. And so as you move forward, we learn to operate with bravery. Not waiting for the phone to ring, but making it ring. Number 2, learning how to deal with losses. I failed a lot of times in my career. And a lot of times those failures have been spectacular. On the biggest stage with thousands of people watching at home. And it's been hard to endure, but I know that in those times, those are character building moments for me. Times where I start to realize who I truly am, and if my convictions are as strong as I preach to the world. It's easy to be the man when everything's going well. Can you stay focused when your back's against the wall? And the expectations are high, the anxiety's high, the pressure is mounting? Can you stay focused and continue to do what it is that you need to do? Last, there are a couple people that I want to thank. Number 1, I want to thank all of you guys for taking a moment to listen to me. Thank you for that. I want to thank all my coaches, my training partners, all the staff here at ClickFunnels, everyone that's helped invest in my wrestling career. You know, one of the great things about this sport is it's truly a team sport. There was a great Olympic champion named Dave Schultz. who he would tell the story all the time. He would say, if I could break down my Olympic gold medal and give a piece to every single person who's helped me achieve this gold medal and this accomplishment in my career, each piece would be the size of a speck of dust. That's how many people have helped me achieve this lofty goal of being the greatest ever. From my parents who signed me up and took me to all my wrestling tournaments and bought me shoes. To my siblings who pushed me and challenged me and wrestled me in the living room on the carpet. To my training partners who pushed me and encouraged me on difficult days. To the janitor that left the lights on in the gymnasium late so I could lose the weight to get down and be ready for competition. Every single one of those people are the individuals that we should value the most. And so for me, you talk about surrounding yourself with a good team. My goal in life has always been to surround myself with a good team. And I don't take any of the credit for what I've done. All I ever had to do was stay focused and work hard. The people around me are the people who have truly elevated me into this position. And when I win, everyone wins. There's very few things that I love to do more than represent the United States of America. And so for me, as we finish, I want to introduce you to a few people in my inner circle that mean the most to me. First, I want to invite my family out. These are the people that are truly your legacy. As I go through life, I start to understand that this is a we thing, not a me thing. My wife has been phenomenal. She's given me the permission to go out and pursue this journey with intent, to be deliberate. I couldn't do it without her. I'm laying it on thick right now. I'm gonna get some extra cool points when I get home. But honestly, this is what it's all about. Your legacy goes beyond what you do on the wrestling mat. So a lot of people, after this last championship, they've called me the greatest wrestler of all time. Being the greatest goes and extends beyond competition. It's how you treat the people that you meet. It's how you influence the next generation. The legacy that you leave behind is here. And so I heard this one time and it made me feel really good. Wrestling is not a lucrative sport. The Olympics are not lucrative sports. And the guy said, you know what? It's better than being the richest guy in the room, it's being the toughest guy. I'm pretty darn tough, and I challenge anyone. But lastly, it's not about Russell. Me and Russell got a match planned after this. Lastly, to my children, it's not about what you leave to them, but what you leave in them. Understanding that the legacy that we've created for ourselves is one of pride, of determination. It's of self-mastery and excellence, and putting ourselves in a position to always represent with honor and strength and integrity. And because of that, I'm super thankful for all of you guys spending time with us today. And I hope to see you all again sometime. Thank you.
You knocked it out of the park, man. I never heard him speak other than just like in social media videos.